Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. The community is mourning and honoring the life of a beloved union leader who had his start on the shop floor of the Windsor Assembly plant. CBC's Pratush Dayal reports.
Not prepared one more time to ask our members to do that.
Labour giant and former Canadian auto workers head Buzz Hargrove has died at the age of 81, but his long legacy lives. Hargrove was the national president of the Canadian Auto Workers from 1992 until his retirement in 2008, and that union merged with another union in 2013 to become Unifor. Hargrove is regarded as one of Canada's most influential and passionate labour leaders. Born in New Brunswick in 1944, Hargrove grew up in a family of 10 children and began working on the shop floor of Chrysler's Windsor Assembly plant.
He was my mentor, he was my friend, my family.
His friend and former president of Local 444 says he visited Hargrove in a Toronto hospital the day before he passed.
So there was a lot of opportunity for me to say to Buzz at his weakest moment with his health, thank you, my friend. Thank you for building a nation that we could all be proud of. And thank you for maintaining the culture that was built in the CAW of social unionism. And he understood it, he smiled, but I knew when I left that he was near the end of his life.
Liuanza says Hargrove negotiated with major employers including General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, Air Canada and CN Rail, securing elevated standards across sectors. He says Hargrove was also a wealth of knowledge and a bookworm.
So every time I seen him, he was reading a book. Every time I seen him, he was following the news. Every time he was educating himself to be a better leader of our union, for the interest of giving Canada a little bit of hope and inspiration at times of need.
In a Facebook post, Local 444 Unifor says Hargrove was defender of all workers and never felt afraid to speak up. Unifor's current national president says Hargrove was always generous and offered his help even after his retirement.
The foresight that he had always, and he could see around many corners, which is something kind of special to have. But he just knew people. And when you know people the way that he did and respect workers the way that he did, you bring that to a bargaining table and you fight for them and you win for them. And that's what he did.
Hargrove was named an officer of the Order of Canada in 2008. Unifor says details on a celebration of his life and legacy will be shared in the coming days. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Windsor.
A Windsor program helping Black youth with mental health and substance use issues is seeing growing demand for its services. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
More Black youth have been reaching out for mental health and substance use help in Windsor.
We have youth that are now wanting to talk about mental health support.
Amani is a government-funded program with 8 locations across Ontario. Black healthcare workers support youth between the ages of 12 and 29 years old who are Caribbean, African, or Black. Since launching here in 2022, the program has only gotten busier. Last year, more than 260 people reached out. This year, there's already a wait list.
With many of our Black youth, racism, biases, and unfortunate situations have had a negative impact on their ability to either access care, their ability to feel like the care is effective. A program like Amani that is culturally affirming and is facilitated by providers that have similar lived experiences allow Black youth and their families to feel, to be able to let down, let go, and feel that they can trust the individual that's caring for them.
And that's a big deal, considering this recent report from Statistics Canada, which found that among girls and young women, those who were racialized were more likely to say that the supports they accessed for mental health or substance use issues weren't helpful. Statistics Canada says that's likely because many providers aren't trained in how to properly care for people from different cultures.
A lot of times we may have youths from the Caribbean, for example, and that's where I'm from. A lot of the times we might be using cultural dialects that they're used to. So again, that relatability and that commonality. And so they're a lot more willing to open up and share and communicate how they're feeling.
Giselle West is one of Amani's clients. The 19-year-old is from Jamaica and lives in Windsor. She struggles with depression and borderline personality disorder.
It's just easier to look at somebody that looks like you, and it gives a more safe and vulnerable space for you to actually tell how you're feeling. Makes you feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more free.
As for what can be done to improve the system, program leaders say it's about hiring more diverse healthcare workers, but also prioritizing meaningful training to allow everyone to know how to help those from different cultures cope. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for our first look at weather. Colette, it was nice to have a lovely Monday because it's looking a little wet in the forecast later on.
Yeah, we have a few chances certainly for getting into some wet weather over the next 24 hours. I mean, as soon as this evening, a few little things bubbling up, but it's more towards midweek where it becomes more significant. So we'll get into that. Certainly some mild temperatures, seasonal right now at 26, but some of that warmth that's to the southwest of us is coming our way, so it gets even warmer tomorrow. Kind of surrounded here, but hey, we're under the influence of high pressure, and that's why we're generally having some pretty fair conditions. A few little pop-up showers this evening, not much to that. 18 degrees overnight tonight, patchy fog possible, and there you go tomorrow up to 30, feeling like 38. I'll talk about those other rain chances coming up.
Okay, thanks so much, Colette. Up next, last week we told you about some confusion around the city's enforcement of new parking rules. Following Jason Vio's report, the city is taking steps to address the issue. Here's Jason again with the very latest.
Some new changes to parking enforcement days after CBC News reported that people were getting tickets when they shouldn't have been. Downtown Councillor Ronaldo Agostino says people will not be getting those $30 tickets for not paying at meters across the city between 6 and 7 p.m. That is until city staff put up proper signage with the correct enforcement times on all meters. On Friday, I showed you a number of parking meters that said it was free after 6 p.m. But earlier this year, City Council decided to change that to being free after 7 p.m. Then starting on June 10th, enforcement officers started issuing tickets for people who didn't pay between 6 and 7 p.m., even at meters where those old, inaccurate signs were up. Last week, the city says all of the more than 1,400 meters across the city have been individually updated, but some may have been inadvertently missed. I went to dozens of meters this week and found 3 inaccurate stickers still up right next to a meter where the sign was removed. All of the other meters I saw simply had old enforcement times taken off, not updated.
Sometimes you got to eat the mistake, and you eat the mistake and move forward with it. And certainly on this one, it's our fault, and you know we're gonna. It's interesting because I wear both hats, right? I represent the city, but I also represent the people. But yeah. I'm happy where this landed in a good place.
As for those 53 people who were given tickets for parking between 6 and 7 p.m. and not paying when they shouldn't have been, well, the city initially told them to either call 311 or dispute the ticket, but now Agostino says all of those tickets will be automatically thrown out. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
A species at risk has temporarily paused construction work in the East End for the Banwell Road corridor and EC Row Expressway overpass. The Butler's garter snake has been discovered in the area, and that has the province ordering the city to ensure they're all found and safely moved to nearby suitable locations.
That set us back a few months just trying to get the plan in place to do this, and rightly so. So that's what you'll see out there right now is people picking up the snakes, moving them into more appropriate locations where they're not going to get injured. And we've worked really closely with the ministry over the last few months doing that.
McGuire says she's hopeful all the snakes will be relocated so that work can resume next month. The provincial government has put up roughly $100 million to improve the area south of the expressway near the Next Star Energy battery plant. An overpass, another roundabout, and more lanes are being added. In national news, Prime Minister Mark Carney is hosting the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta. Over the 2 days, he will meet with leaders of some of the world's economic powers, including the United States. Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump had a bilateral meeting ahead of the wider summit. Trump struck an optimistic note publicly, saying that he believes the two leaders can reach a trade deal within weeks. Ashley Burke has more.
The G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership.
The Prime Minister tried to Trump-proof the G7, and for the most part it's working, but the President did launch into one attack about his perceived political enemies.
I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that that was a mistake.
Donald Trump wrongly blamed Justin Trudeau. Stephen Harper was Prime Minister when Russia was expelled from the summit a decade ago.
The head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake.
But on trade and U.S. tariffs, some faint signs of progress.
I have a tariff concept, and Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person.
Trump optimistic, saying they can work something out.
Do you think a deal is achievable within days, within weeks? Is there that kind of runway?
Yeah, it's achievable. Both parties have to agree. Yeah, sure.
Carney looked like he wanted to keep the moment brief.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president.
With that, media were moved out.
Let it go.
Out.
Come on, guys.
And the G7 officially began. Carney's hosting the summit for the first time. It's up to him to guide 2 days of talks in Kananaskis, Alberta, with some of the most powerful leaders in the world, as they face a trade war launched by one of their own G7 members.
So as I said, we're meeting at one of those hinge moments, those turning points in history.
With an ongoing war in Ukraine, escalating conflicts in the Middle East, and global tariffs, there's a lot for leaders to talk about. But it's also a chance for Carney to set the agenda on Canada's terms. Carney says he wants to have frank discussions over the next few days and hopes to find consensus on some key issues. But with Trump already showing some signs of disagreement this morning, that may not be easy. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Banff, Alberta.
Meanwhile, some Canadian premiers are in Boston for meetings with some governors from the U.S. Northeast. They're discussing the impact of Donald Trump's tariffs and how to improve economic relations. CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick reports.
The Canadian flag was on display outside the Massachusetts state legislature today, while inside, Canadian premiers and U.S. governors sat down to talk about the trade war raging between their countries.
People are coming from all over.
The premiers of Ontario, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, and Prince Edward Island, along with Quebec's economic minister, came to Boston at the invitation of Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey and the other East Coast governors. The point? To discuss the impact of the tariffs on their respective jurisdictions and to talk about how they can strengthen trade ties despite the trade war. The governors acknowledged the frayed relationship between the two countries right now, and they said they understand why some Canadians are choosing to avoid travel to the U.S.
We want them to come back to our country, but we understand the anger that they feel. Our relationship suffers, and it shouldn't. And we do respect Canadians and the country, the sovereign country of Canada.
The governors of Maine, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Vermont said the drop in tourism is having a serious impact on their economies. They want to get the message across to Canadians that they don't share the 51st state rhetoric from President Donald Trump, and they hope to see Canadians in their states soon. New Brunswick's premier had a message for Americans.
You got to make noise. You got to tell your leader that this is hurting the American economy, that this is hurting jobs in the U.S. Canadians can't pass that message for you.
These kinds of meetings have been going on between East Coast governors and premiers for decades. For this one, they said there was a sense of urgency given the trade war, and they described their discussion today as sobering and eye-opening. Nova Scotia's Premier Tim Houston was realistic about the impact this group can have on Trump's trade policies.
There's just certain things that are outside of our control. We can't control what people tweet in the middle of the night. But there are things that are within our control, and that's where we should work together.
So while the meetings here in Boston were focused on areas of cooperation, the governors and the premiers were saying they're keeping a close eye on the meetings in Canada between Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney, hoping there will be some kind of resolution. Ontario Premier Doug Ford summarized his hope this way: let's get a deal. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Boston.
A live look outside there, the sun setting slowly. It's still early, we still have a few more hours of daylight to go. We do anticipate some wet weather in the days ahead though, so I hope that you got to enjoy that sunshine today. And Colette will of course talk us through everything later in the program. Stay with us, we'll have more news after the break. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to deport thousands of migrants has come under fire, but he remains undeterred. In fact, he has ordered federal agencies to expand the detention and deportation of migrants across the country. Karen Pauls has more.
A weekend of protests across the U.S., anger over ICE raids targeting undocumented migrants, leading to clashes with law enforcement, including the National Guard. Undeterred, U.S. President Donald Trump posting on social media, he has directed ICE agents to do everything in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in history. The goal is at least 3,000 arrests a day, up from about 650 a day during the first 5 months of Trump's second term. To reach that goal, officials must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. Trump added he wants agents to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. As he headed to Canada for the G7 summit, Trump doubled down, defending his decision.
So the protesters, if we didn't have the National Guard on call and ready, they would rip Los Angeles apart. They come and they check and they say, is the National Guard going to be there? And if the National Guard's being there, they don't even show up.
But at the same time, he's dealing with concerns over the impact these mass deportations are having on key industries that rely on these workers, including agriculture and hospitality.
The disruption and the fear that has been caused by the raids has really had a devastating effect and has been a body blow to our economy. I don't think the president understands that we have entire sectors of our economy that cannot function without immigrant labor.
People that are at work being productive are less of a concern than people that are, running the black market, illicit finance, sex trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking operations in the United States.
There are reports that ICE arrests on farms and in restaurants and hotels have been put on pause for now. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Washington.
Here at home, the federal government has unveiled the Canada Strong Pass to promote domestic tourism this summer. It offers families free or discounted rates to natural and cultural attractions across the country. CBC's David Thurton has the details from Ottawa.
Canada's national parks offer stunning views, but at a cost. Just in time for summer, the federal government is lifting those fees, introducing what the minister calls the Canada Strong Pass.
There's no need to register or get physical pass. Just plan your trip as you normally would, show up and enjoy the free access and discounts at participating locations.
Starting Friday and for the rest of the summer, the federal government is offering free admission to federal historic sites, parks, and marine conservation areas, and a 25% discount on Parks Canada camping fees. National museums are also free to anyone 17 and under.
So get there and explore Canada's national treasures, discover new places, enjoy unforgettable experiences, live your own Canadian adventure.
The announcement comes as travelers opt for staycations.
Absolutely. We decided we'd stay in Canada this year. We won't go to the United States.
It's definitely well-timed with the heightened sense of patriotism that we have right now.
But there are concerns about the influx of tourists and the impact they could have on the fragile ecosystems.
They should probably put like a limiter in terms of like how many people could enter, because people really do love free things.
Visits to some national parks have been increasing. With that comes increased vehicle traffic and wildlife encounters.
Because we've seen so many more people wanting to get out into nature, the park system that we have has been under stress.
But limiting access isn't the answer, according to this advocate.
It's important that, we don't look at that and say, well, we need fewer people in the parks. It's not that we need fewer people going to out into nature. It's that we need more nature for them to go out into.
The government is giving Canadians other opportunities to see the country, like by train. Via Rail is offering free passenger travel for those 17 and under once they're accompanied by a grown-up, and also discounted travel for young people. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with Colette. Colette Kennedy is back now for more on weather. Colette, quite a bit of heat on the way, so talk us through it.
Yeah, there really is. It's going to kind of come in waves, so to speak, in terms of we get a bit of a gentle warming up and then a slight and short reprieve. And then as we get towards the weekend and the beginning of next week, I mean, this may be more of actual heat wave territory, but that's to come. I'm going to take you through all of this. We'll just start with what's kind of having this impact. And the jet stream is well to the north, so that is allowing the milder air to push up across the Great Lakes. It's also allowing that southerly flow and some of the humidity, which is going to continue creeping up as well. Our current temperatures, basically seasonal. We were just a touch above for today. You have to factor in that there is some moisture, available moisture in the air. So 32 is our humidex, what it actually feels like. Chatham-Kent even at 30, in London there at 32 with that humidex value. There's that southerly flow kicking in. You see it in Chatham-Kent towards London. Little fluctuations we're getting back towards Sarnia and Windsor. But in general, tomorrow our winds are going to be more to the south to southwest. Not terribly strong, but again, just pulling in some of that warmth. You can see a few little, because of that moisture, a few little spotty showers trying to bubble up. They don't have, they're not going to have much luck as we go into the evening hours. That kind of dies off. We could get into a little bit of patchy fog actually overnight tonight. And then as we move through the day on Tuesday, again with the heat and humidity, into the afternoon could start to see things bubbling up, but it becomes much more apparent or organized later on Wednesday or overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning. We have that chance, and then later in the day on Wednesday as well. So there's going to be, for midweek, kind of multiple opportunities. We're getting to the point where we do need some of that rain, though, to be pushing through our region. And you can see it kind of blows up a little more overnight Wednesday into Thursday, and still a few lingering showers possible early on Thursday. So a bit of a chance tomorrow, greater chance on Wednesday, and that carries on Wednesday night. All right, there you go with your overnight temperature, a very mild 18 degrees. So yes, you can crack the windows, but because there'll still be a bit of humidity, it's not a lot of relief that you get, but certainly much more comfortable than tomorrow when we're up to 30 degrees with our humidex value at 38. There's that slim chance of showers, and then I'm putting showers and thunderstorms in Wednesday, and again, keeping in mind much of that will be later in the day. A bit of a drop, and then those temperatures are going to crank up towards the weekend.
Okay, thank you so much, Colette, and thanks everybody for watching. We will see you tomorrow.
Good night.